What is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. And we find ourselves at the end of the road to WrestleMania, the most unique and absolutely strangest road to WrestleMania any one of us has ever been down. And we find ourselves at the go-home show for Hot Messelmania, or Wrecklemania, or PC Mania, whatever you want to call it, because it just doesn't feel like WrestleMania. And at the end of the day, no matter what they tried to do on tonight's Monday Night Raw, all they did with the go-home show tonight truly is make me really sad. And we're going to talk about it right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Monday Night Raw WrestleMania Go Home review and reaction show. Let's do this one.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
It's really, really sad, guys and gals. It's just usually this time of year, regardless whether the card is going to be good or not, we're all usually hyped for WrestleMania. Just because it's WrestleMania. And this year, due to the outbreak and everything that has been going on in the world right now, the WWE's hand has been forced, and it's just not the way it's supposed to be. And when you get a go-home show tonight that featured some of the best promo work I have ever felt on a WWE program in quite some time, it makes you want to be excited. You can't listen to The Undertaker tonight and in his promo against AJ Styles, and you can't not want to feel that and be excited for that match. But at the end of the day, you know, when we get to Saturday or Sunday, they're going to be wrestling in this Boneyard match, which would most likely have been in front of nobody anyway, but it just doesn't feel like it's happening at WrestleMania. You can't listen to Kevin Owens run down Seth Rollins in beautiful fashion tonight and not want to be excited for it. You want to be in it. You want to be with KO as he's going to burn down the Monday Night Man Bun come Saturday at WrestleMania. You want to be excited when you hear Paul Heyman's promo at the end of the night. And sure, it was Paul Heyman doing his Paul Heyman thing, but it was perfect. It was great. It was intense. And it made you want to see Drew McIntyre kick Brock Lesnar's face off even more. But why are you going to get excited for that when Drew McIntyre's crowning moment is going to happen in front of absolutely nobody in front of that live crowd? It doesn't feel like WrestleMania anymore. It feels like a slap in the face to Drew McIntyre. And it's nobody's fault. You can't blame Vince McMahon for what's going on, but maybe you should. Because how can you listen to a guy like Edge tonight, who delivered a promo that the only thing wrong with any of the promo work tonight was that they were all done by veterans. And once again, it just shows you the miles difference between today's generation and the old school. And yes, Kevin Owens may be a little bit more towards the newer school than most, but he's a very rare exception. Much like Samoa Joe would be a rare exception to be that good on the microphone and to be able to sell us on a match that we know we are already not feeling anymore because WrestleMania is not WrestleMania, but they pulled you in. They pulled you in. They made you want to feel these matchups happen. They made you feel like maybe this is WrestleMania. But then you come down because you're watching the same Monday Night Raw that we've seen in the last couple of weeks. There's nobody in attendance. And it makes you feel, the best analogy for me to explain to you how it feels for me, at least personally, to watch these empty arena shows. It's as if I bought a ticket to a Broadway show. If you're not familiar with Broadway plays and whatnot, I don't know how you couldn't be familiar with that, but I'm from New York City. We're here live in New York, and, I'm just like 20 minutes away from Manhattan. And if I wanted to buy myself a ticket to a Broadway show that I was looking forward to see, that had actors that I know and enjoyed, and I showed up to the performance, and I was the only one there. It's as if that's a great analogy for it, for me to explain it to you. Or to make it even more clear, if you bought a ticket to your favorite rock band or your favorite musical act, and you showed up at the arena in your town, and you were the only one there, and then they still went out on stage and they rocked as hard as they could just for their one fan, but then at the end of every song, you're just that guy, you're that one guy there, and you're like, woo! And there's no reaction. There's no life to the show. There's no give and take with the fans. And yeah, some people may be like, oh, I don't want to hear stupid fans chanting and their stupid CM Punk chants and their what chants and whatever, but it breathes life into the show. We've talked about this on the SmackDown review. I'm sure we're going to talk about it this weekend ad nauseum when we review this 2-night Wrestlemania. And while these promos were fantastic, there is nothing that anybody could have said to change the fact that when we get to this WrestleMania, nobody's going to feel those things. No matter how good the matches are, how much are you honestly going to enjoy them? These shows that we are getting on a weekly basis are insufferable. They're hard to get through. And you've seen that tonight. We had a decent 6-man matchup. I hate 6-man tags, but we had a decent 6-man match with the debut of Austin Theory. And there was nothing. There's just nothing. It was like listening or watching, like we've said, practice. It's like I'm watching them practice, watching a performance for one. There's a disconnect. And I just don't feel the way I feel when watching the shows the way they're supposed to be seen. It's a completely different animal. Which is why perhaps tonight the poop hammer has to go solely and directly right on the big fat noggin of one Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Because in fact, no matter how you slice it, the best possible course of action here would have been to postpone the show. And I don't care what future date they could have made it on. I don't give a shit about the Madison Square Garden deal in June. I don't give a shit about what about SummerSlam. You let the world go through what the world's going through. Maybe you just put the button on pause right now. You let everybody go home. You let everybody be safe. Don't worry about making new content. You have a library of content that you could use on network television, which you're doing anyway. You're showing replays of Raws and Royal Rumbles and WrestleManias, and that was your thing to do until shit blows over. Show classic episodes of Raw. Show Monday night Nitros. Show anything. Use those situations to get people to join the network. Hey, if you like seeing some of this old stuff, join the WWE network for $9.99, and then when we get back to normal, you'll get WrestleMania for free, and you'll be paying $9.99 a month for pay-per-views. That seems pretty logical to me. You let everybody rest up, everybody will be able to all come back at the same time when everybody gets the okay, and you don't have to look like a big giant asshole forcing everybody into this show that's going to never, ever live up to the name WrestleMania. Sure, we've been through some bad WrestleManias, and this WrestleMania is shaping up to have some really great matches that are going to probably tell some great stories, and they're going to be told in front of an empty arena, and it's not going to feel like anything. It's going to feel exactly the same as SmackDown's been feeling. It's going to feel the same as Raw has been feeling, and subsequently all of these shows feel exactly the same even as AEW. Because while they may put together a better show and have more vignettes and more promos and things of that nature, when you get to the in-ring action without fans in attendance, it just doesn't feel like you're watching wrestling. It really doesn't. So does this WrestleMania count? I'd love to know if you guys will truly count this WrestleMania. When you go back and look through your life 10, 20, 30 years from now, this is going to definitely be one of the most memorable WrestleManias of all time, but not for the right reasons. It's going to be because of the way Vince McMahon is forcing us to see it in the way they're putting together shows right now. With no fans in attendance, nothing. I mean, how is it possibly going to feel like WrestleMania just based off of the matches and a couple of different logos on the friggin' screens? Doesn't matter what logos are on the HD screens, you're still in the Performance Center in front of nobody. So all of these shows are going to feel exactly the way Monday Night Raw has felt and SmackDown has felt. It's going to just be a continuation. So if you hate the feeling of these shows as much as I do, there's no way you're going to be able to enjoy WrestleMania all that much. Edge versus Randy Orton may deliver. I certainly hope it does. It's definitely been the best built angle going into WrestleMania, even before everything got shot to hell. But they've continued at a top-notch level to make this thing continue to boil. And you want to see it come to a head, and you want to see it explode with passion and fire, and I want to see everything go off without a hitch, but I feel like without any reaction. I don't know, you guys. I honestly don't know. Let me know what you guys feel. Tell me in the comments below, what are you guys feeling about this weekend's WrestleMania? Do you think it's going to feel like WrestleMania? Do you think it should count? Do you think it would have been smarter for the old man to push this thing back? What would have been wrong? All he wants to do is be able to, when this is all over, to say, well, we didn't shut down. Major League Baseball shut down. The NFL shut down. But we didn't shut down. Because you know what, COVID? You're fired from the WWE. That's what he just wants to be above it all. Just like he did during 9/11. What was it, 2-3 days after the attack? Oh, we're going to be the first ones back. Screw terrorism. We're going to have a big giant assembly, even though we probably shouldn't right now. Because WWE's going to be first. And they still pound their chest on that. Oh, we were the first ones back. Come on, you guys. Doesn't feel good to me. Does it really feel good to you? Let me know in the comments below. So let's talk about the show. Up and down, the AJ Styles Undertaker promo was fantastic. He stood there in close-up camera view. He had his bandana on, very big, evilish, and he went behind the fourth wall with AJ. AJ wants to call the Undertaker by his real name, so the Undertaker addressed him as his real names. Oh, Alan Jones, which is a really, lackluster name. I didn't think his name was Alan Jones, but I guess that's where the AJ and AJ Styles comes from. I didn't know enough, but it took me by surprise. I'm like, Alan Jones, that seems a little bit regular for that guy, but whatever. That's just me being a dick. The Undertaker said AJ must either have some really big ones or that he's really just stupid. And he's heard much worse from many better people in his past. And though some of AJ Styles' words might ring true, AJ Styles was right that he wouldn't have wanted to face him 10 to 15 years ago. And this was my favorite part of The Undertaker's promo. He said to AJ that you stayed away. You were happy being a big fish in a small pond. And you didn't want to come here because you knew you couldn't hang with the likes of myself, with the likes of Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle, Mick Foley, Eddie Guerrero, Booker T, and Edge. Styles waited. He waited until everybody was gone, and then he showed up. Because he knew he couldn't hang. This was awesome. This was awesome. The Undertaker burying AJ before they even stepped foot in this boneyard. He said he understands what AJ's doing because, hey, it's all business. He understands it's all business. But he made the fatal mistake of talking about his wife, my wife. Right? The Undertaker's talking about my wife, Michelle McCool. Said that AJ's problem with Michelle McCool is not anything to do with the Undertaker, but the fact that she took his move. She took the Styles Clash. She renamed it the Faith Maker, and I remember being really hard on her for doing that back in the day. I didn't have my show at the time, but as a fan, I used to hate that she used to come out in the hood like AJ. She used to flip it up the way AJ did, and then she did his finishing move, and then the Undertaker goes on to say, and she actually got it over, unlike you. Insinuating that she actually did the Styles Clash better than AJ, which is just laughable for most of us, but we'll let the Undertaker say what he's going to say. It's his boo, it's his wife. What's he going to say? It's my wife. She does a better Styles Clash than you. It's my wife. I don't know why I'm turning into Borat when I'm saying it's like a 15-year-old fucking dated reference. What's wrong with me? Anyway, Undertaker goes on to say that Styles will hurt. He will suffer, and he will rest in peace. Fantastic stuff. And I think one of the things that made a lot of the promos, which you've seen in The Undertaker's promo on this night, very special, and made them so engaging, and made them really make you feel excited for what might be to come and want to have that excited feeling for WrestleMania, is the fact that they were talking directly to the camera, just like I do with you guys. It allows me to engage with you directly. You're looking right at me. You're hearing my message. And if I was just wandering off talking to an imaginary crowd and looking at my action figures over there and my superhero posters over there and talking like this, it wouldn't be nearly as much engaging as it is when I'm looking you guys dead in the eye. And every single promo on this night was face to face, locked on in the camera, and it makes a difference. It makes a difference, especially for the viewing audience at home. It's just great. And this is something that I hope to see continue. I don't want them to go away from this when we go back to normal. That doesn't mean everybody has to go out into the ring and start talking to the gods and to the heavens, because we have to look at the people up in the skybox who can't even see Kevin Owens' beady little eyes trying to look at him. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of good stuff, though, on this night. Becky Lynch came out to cut a promo, but she didn't cut a promo. She then stood there, apparently, for the whole 45 to 50 minutes that they gave to Monday Night Raw tonight to show the full match from WrestleMania 35. The main event featuring Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch. The one interesting thing about this is that I was actually at WrestleMania 35 last year, as many of you Sledgeheads already know. And I haven't ever watched this match back. And I wasn't about to do so tonight. But I did notice that it went on extremely long. And I know that this match was not 45 minutes, nearly 1 hour, when I sat through it at WrestleMania. I don't know what the official time was, but I know it definitely wasn't that long. But I will tell you that it felt to me as long as it was for all of you guys to experience it tonight as I sat there live. I remember the clock was approaching midnight as we got to Becky Lynch's entrance, and I was sitting up there in the upper decks of the MetLife building, and I was freezing. It got really cold all of a sudden, and that's what I remember, being really, really cold and just hoping that this was a really short match, and it ended up going, I think, at least 25 minutes or so, and that's what I was remembering. As I'm sitting there watching whatever parts of this match I decided to check in on, all I could remember is being in the stands freezing my balls off, because it got really cold, and this show ran really late, and I was there for about 12 straight hours before we even hit the main event. It was a long, hard day at WrestleMania 35, but I was there, I had the experience, and at the rate we're going, that might be the last WrestleMania that ever existed. Or, at least for the time being. And I was there, so it was interesting to see certain things in this matchup on television, as I only got to see it from high in the heavens of the MetLife Stadium. But I didn't watch the majority of this match, and all of this led to Becky Lynch having a quick little speech talking shit about Shayna Baszler, talking about, oh, you're saying that the loser is going to be destroyed, but who is it that you're talking about? She wanted to talk shit about Ronda Rousey a little bit, saying how Ronda's better than Shayna, and out of nowhere, Shayna Baszler came and choked out Becky Lynch and threw her into, I shouldn't say throw, let me say it accurately. What she did was she grabbed her by the feet, wheelbarrow style, and then swung Becky Lynch's body and swacked her head into the announce table, leaving her laying there as she lifted up the Women's Championship, threw it on top of Becky Lynch, and then walked off camera. Pretty decent stuff here to try to elevate the feud between these two ladies. Shayna Baszler, I will always and continue to say, is a female version of Samoa Joe. She's absolutely terrifying. She looks like a badass. She's scary as an MFer. And I wouldn't want to be on the other end of the ring from her. So Becky Lynch, I believe her time is up. She's been the champion for a whole year now. And showing this matchup that they showed tonight also reminds us of a time where they were stupid. The WWE likes to remind us when they were stupid. And while at the end of the day I don't mind Charlotte's involvement in that triple threat match, the way they chose to get us there was some of the most dreadful stuff ever. And I remember just how forced and ridiculous it was that Charlotte was just placed in there by Vince after Becky earned her shot in the Rumble. It was so ridiculous. So remember when we were stupid and made you guys watch this matchup? And wrecked the build to this matchup? Yeah, remember that. We'll show you another time we were stupid later on in the show. We seen some clips from Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair from WrestleMania 24. I thought this was poignant because if you didn't know, that actually happened on March 30th. So it's been however many years to the day. It actually happened on this day in pro wrestling history, so it was nice to see them give a nod to that. Alistair Black came out and defeated some kid named Jason Cade. I don't understand what any of this has to do with him having a match with Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania. I don't know why they're even bothering having a match at all. We didn't need to extend this thing for 2 nights so that we could see Alistair Black versus Bobby Lashley. That's not at all my cup of tea. And the one thing that I don't understand is why is it necessary for Alistair Black to go out there and beat up jobbers? Consequently, for 2 weeks in a row, Alistair Black has gone out there and squashed a couple of African-American gentlemen. Is this the WWE's way of making us, see that he's going to beat Bobby Lashley? Or is it trying to piss off Bobby Lashley, that he's trying to keep some brothers down? I don't understand. Or is it truly just random? Or is this just some of that typical WWE racist thinking? I don't know. That's maybe conspiracy theorist of me, but I've just happened to notice that Alistair Black's opponents on this road to Bobby Lashley have all been African American. And they've all been beaten in less than a minute. And I don't know if that's them just doing their thing. It's just stupid. Regardless what Jason Cade was. He could have been Chinese, he could have been Japanese, he could have been from Antarctica, he could have been a giant fucking polar bear from the North Pole. It doesn't matter. If Alistair Black beating that polar bear in 48 seconds means just about as much as him beating Jason Cade as a warm-up match for the Walking Milk Dud? No thanks. 6-man tag team matchup, Kevin Owens and the tag team champions, the Street Profits, team up to defeat the Monday Night Man Bun and his impromptu tag team partners, Angel Garza and Austin Theory, who is now Zelina Vega's new client, I guess, since Andrade is hurt. Austin Theory is just being inserted into this matchup. And here's the interesting thing. This is where WWE really just really grinds my gears. All right, because you got a kid like Austin Theory. Everybody's talking about Austin Theory like he's the second coming of John Cena. Oh, Vince is going to love this guy, and he's going to be the star of the future. I'm tired of even hearing this shit. Now, I don't care one way or the other. I don't have an opinion on Austin Theory. I'm not saying he's not good. I'm saying is I'm tired of hearing all this hype from all these people saying that this guy's going to be the next guy, and then they show up to be absolutely nothing. Being teamed up with Angel Garza right now means that he's not really high on the totem pole, but he is consequently subbing for Andrade, which means he's now going to be in the Tag Team Championship matchup at WrestleMania. But now take this into account. Tonight, he was on the losing team. So he doesn't even have a win on the main roster, or the WWE's Raw roster, rather. And he's getting a title shot just because he's filling in. Now, what happens when Andrade comes back? And is this really good for Austin Theory? He's been on NXT for barely a blip. I don't know. This didn't do all that much for me. After they got the win here, Kevin Owens and the Street Profits, Seth Rollins would attack Kevin Owens with a stomp, and then they would go to commercial. The craziest thing about this six-man was the bump that was taken by Montez Ford. Speaking of Austin Theory, by the way, I don't know whether or not he screwed this up, but at one point, Montez Ford of the Street Profits hit the ropes after screaming WrestleMania, and then ran to the other side, did a leap over the ropes, a tope over the top, and landed on his back on the floor. Like nobody was there to initiate contact, nobody was there to slow him down, and he just went flat on his back in between the part where the floor hit the ramp. It was brutal. It looked brutal, and the guy did not move very much after he took that bump. And it was an unnecessary bump, because it had nothing to do with the finish of the match. And if it didn't take anybody out, then why the hell did he even do it? He either clearly missed, or Austin Theory missed his spot, and now Montez Ford may never walk the same again. I hope he's alright. It was very, very brutal to watch. And immediately following that spot is when Kevin Owens would get the pin on Angel Garza in this matchup, which would follow up by the Seth Rollins curb stomp attack. But that bump by Montez Ford, man, holy shit. I hope this guy's alright. It was pretty bad. After this, Kevin Owens gave his promo. He said Rollins and he are set to do battle at this WrestleMania. He called out Seth Rollins for everything he said about the Performance Center. You claim that you built this Performance Center, that it was built on your blood, your sweat, your tears, you put this place on your back. But in actuality, that couldn't be further than the truth, that he was actually just a pain in the ass down in NXT just as much as he is here and now today. He's the same guy now that he was back then. He was nothing but a problem to work with, and he was just a big old giant dipshit. And everybody was like, oh, Kevin Owens said dipshit on Raw. So what? So what? This was another really, really good promo. He said that finally he's going to get his WrestleMania moment, and it's going to come at the expense of the Monday Night Man Bun, as he is coming to burn it down. This was really good. Really, another really good promo from Kevin Owens. Made you really excited. We came back from this promo, and they put you right into the camera with Edge. Edge cut a promo sitting backstage. This was the most intense, most goosebump-inducing promo I've seen. And Randy and Edge have really been putting some fire to their promos as of late, but this one was just next level. The way he attacked Randy Orton, the way he mentioned how he was at WrestleMania 6 watching Hogan and the Warrior. He said, everybody's junkies for wrestling. He referenced, you called me, Adam Copeland, a junkie. But we're all junkies. And they aren't that different. Edge and Randy Orton have a lot of similarities. But the one thing that Randy's most jealous of is the fact that Edge got everything he did on his own. Because he had grit. And having grit meant reaching down into a hole and pulling someone out of it who didn't deserve it. Turning down a spot in Evolution because you didn't want somebody else's to be somebody else's lackey anymore. Forging your own Hall of Fame career working for 9 years to end things on your own terms. Edge said he was wrong when he mentioned that Randy Orton was really jealous of him, but he was jealous of his passion, a passion that he doesn't have. Orton felt passion when Edge was with him, which is why being with Edge now scares him, because the best Randy Orton feeds off of what Edge brings to the table. And that's what scares Randy Orton the most, is that without Edge, Randy Orton isn't Randy Orton. And the last time Randy Orton was as good as he is right now was 9 years ago, which was the last time he was facing off with Edge. Randy's one most fatal mistake, just like we heard with The Undertaker, was mentioning his pack, putting his hands on his wife, saying the names of his little girls. Orton accepted this last man standing match against a man who dove headfirst into a flaming table with thumbtacks in every inch of his body just to grab the torch that Orton has right now and takes for granted. Orton stepped into another hole this time, but Edge is not going to be the one to pull him out, but push him so far that he will never get out. Holy shit, man. If you did not see Edge's promo from last night's Go Home show, it is the one thing you need to go and watch, because it was absolutely perfect. Done by a master of his craft, and it made me so excited for this match. And then you remember, this ain't WrestleMania. It feels like WrestleMania. In this moment, it felt like it. But the truth is always there. Just like when I have to sit here and tell you that Asuka came out tonight, and I don't know what the hell the point of this was. It barely lasted a minute in the ring. She spent more time on the mic outside screaming in Japanese and doing her easy peasy lemon squeezy bullshit. And I don't know why Asuka has to continue to be featured like a clown. She's one half of the Women's Tag Team Champions. She's going to have a Women's Tag Team Championship matchup at this Wrestlemania. She's going to be facing Bliss Cross Appleforth, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. And this is how she's warming up with a match with Caden Carter. Does anybody watching Monday Night Raw who doesn't follow NXT know what a Caden Carter is? Why? Another useless squash match here. Absolutely ridiculous. Stupid. Asuka gets this quick win and then starts running up and doing all her yeah, blah, 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 this, that. There's a whole bunch of nonsense that doesn't really mean anything. You heard her scream Nikki a bunch of times. That was the clearest thing I can get out of it. And I don't know what the point of any of it was. They showed a clip from earlier in the day of Charlotte Flair attacking Rhea Ripley on the outside. Decent enough. Standard WWE building towards a matchup. I'm not really as interested in this matchup as many of you guys might be. I don't know what they're going to do. I certainly hope Charlotte Flair is going to put over Rhea Ripley. I don't want to see Rhea Ripley losing the championship to Charlotte Flair. Seeing her move down to NXT is just not something I want to see happen. Rhea Ripley is on the cusp of becoming a big star. And if they don't allow her to take this step over Charlotte right now, then they are just continuing to do what the WWE does best, and that's ruin a good thing before it even really gets started. They aired Brock Lesnar versus Rey Mysterio from the Survivor Series of 2019. Okay, sure. Now, this wasn't one of the worst matches in the world. It definitely over-delivered because none of us expected it to be even half as dramatic as it was. And my favorite parts of this matchup had to do with the giant baby son helping out Tiny Dad in the matchup against the Beast. And once again, as I mentioned earlier, this is just another instance of the WWE showing us how stupid they are. Because while the right person won this match, and they definitely did some interesting things in this match to make it very entertaining, they didn't follow up in any meaningful way with Dominic Guerrero. Did I just call him Guerrero? I meant to say Dominic Mysterio. That's like a Freudian slip because I remember that whole angle with him and Eddie, and I was just watching some of that stuff on the WWE Network, and he's not a Guerrero, he's Dominic Mysterio. But they dropped the ball on that, man, and considering what that kid did in WrestleMania, they definitely should have done something more with him as far as Ray's feud with Zelina Vega and Andrade and everybody else is coming along. They dropped the ball on that, showing you just how much they don't even know when they have a good thing. And they just let it go away. I didn't care about this matchup. Remember, this matchup barely lasted 10 minutes, but it took up about 25 minutes of Raw because they had to stick a couple of commercials in the middle of one of the shortest Survivor Series main events that there ever was. They then talked about the full WrestleMania card, and they still are promoting Bill Goldberg versus Roman Reigns. A match that the whole entire world knows the big dog pulled out of. He actually reiterated it in another Twitter post today, where he confirmed that it pretty much wasn't happening. So why are they still promoting this match as if nothing is going on SmackDown? Are they really not making any decisions until Friday? Did the man not already tell you he doesn't want to do it? Do you not already think that the reasons why he doesn't want to do it are valid enough to just be like, okay, doesn't Vince love him enough to just take him at his word and let him do whatever he wants to do? Or did they already film some kind of a stupid matchup? Or some sort of a segment that's going to see Roman get his hands on the title anyway? What? Why would you be promoting something that everybody already knows isn't happening? I guess that's a moment we could bring in the good old Poop Hammer on, because I don't understand the logic behind it. How could you do that? You know the world knows it's not happening, right? Unless the big dog's trolling all of us. I don't know. I don't think that's the case. But then we got the Brock Lesnar Paul Heyman closing of the show. This was the go home segment of the go home show for WrestleMania. And Paul actually did an excellent job. He didn't stick to his usual bullshit. He actually made this very interesting. He put over Drew McIntyre, talking him up a little bit and giving him credit where credit is due. But he's just going to be another one in a long line of people who were deemed to be special, but at the end of the day will just be Brock Lesnar's bitch. Paul Heyman went on to list the numerous people that Brock Lesnar has destroyed in his career, mentioning that The Rock was also special. The immortal Hulk Hogan was also special, but where was Hulk Hogan's blood dripped across the chest of the beast as he conquered the immortal one himself? He mentioned Randy Couture and Shane Carwin and John Cena and The Undertaker, all of these men who are legends and Hall of Famers. And all of them have one thing in common, and they've all lost to Brock Lesnar. Ended up not so goddamn special, as Paul Heyman said. That's a direct quote. And nothing more than Brock Lesnar's bitch. He said the Claymore kick wasn't going to work, just like the rock bottom didn't work, just like the leg drop didn't work, the attitude adjustment and the tombstone didn't work. Heyman guaranteed that next year, for WrestleMania 37, if there is one, that we'll be sitting here on the Go Home show, in the Go Home segment, with the World Heavyweight Champion being Brock Lesnar once again. And he'll be out here talking about Drew McIntyre getting beaten at WrestleMania 2020 this year as he walks in special and walks out Brock Lesnar's bitch. And they faded to black. And once again, for the fourth time on this night, a promo knocked it right out of the park. Made me really, really wish none of this stuff was happening so that we could have an actual normal functioning WrestleMania. And while it's hard to really say that if none of the world's problems impacted the world of pro wrestling, You'd like to think that this is kind of what we still would get. You don't really have any reason to believe that this is what we would get because they probably would have fucked this up really bad. You know, because Raw and SmackDown are just, were terrible then. They're even worse in these incarnations now. But the promo work tonight was so good that it makes me sad. Makes me sad that WrestleMania is not going to be what it's supposed to be. Guys like Drew are not going to get the win they deserve. AJ Styles gets to live out a dream, probably, of wrestling The Undertaker. And he gets to wrestle The Undertaker at WrestleMania. But it's just... You guys understand. You understand. I know you understand because you're awesome sledgeheads and you've been with me for as long as you've been with me, and we ain't going nowhere. And we are getting set to bring the hammer down on this whole entire weekend's events, and we want to make sure that you stick it along with us. It's going to be a fun ride no matter what. It might depress us. It might be some really bad wrestling shows. They may even turn around and surprise us and actually have some good come out of this weekend. But the fact that it's even happening still is the biggest thing wrong with WrestleMania already. But we will get to that this weekend in a two-night, two-part WrestleMania extravaganza brought to you like nobody else can do right here on Sledgehammer TV. Thank you all so much for joining me here tonight. Once again, my name is Nick Nightmare. This is the Team Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, his tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue the Snowball, the most important member of the team, though, as always, is each and every one of you beautiful sledgeheads. And if you're not already a member of the newest, fastest rising faction of fans that are taking over the YouTube wrestling community, now would be the time to hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss anything as we are getting set to bring the hammer down on WrestleMania like nobody else can. And if you missed anything else this week, you could check out the SmackDown review and reaction show, last week's review of Raw, and all of the coverage of pay-per-views that have been happening at the beginning of the year. We got the Elimination Chamber, we got AEW Revolution, and so much more for your wrestling heart. Anything you desire is going to be here on this channel, and I want you guys to enjoy all of it. And if you're watching this video and you had a good time, if I made you laugh, if I made you cry, if I made you understand why everything right now is just so goddamn weird and not really that good, smash that like button right now. Let me know that you enjoyed today's show. Then share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they're as disappointed as we are with the state of professional wrestling, so that they too now have a new home to go to vent, which is what the comments section is for. I want to know everybody's thoughts about WrestleMania. Don't forget to hit me up with your comments down below. That, my friends, is going to do it. We are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com.